AITA for refusing to forgive my brother after what he did at my wedding. This has been eating me up for months now, and I'm honestly not sure if I'm overreacting or if my brother really crossed a line that should never be crossed. I'm hoping to get some outside perspective here because my family is split and I'm stuck in the middle. A little background. I, 29F, recently got married to my fiancé, Tom, 31M. We've been together for 6 years, and we planned our wedding for over a year. My brother, Jake, 27M, has always been a bit of a wild card. Growing up, he was the funny, charming kid, but also the one who liked to push boundaries and stir the pot. We've had our ups and downs, but overall I've always considered him my closest family. So, the wedding. We wanted it to be a medium-sized affair, about 120 people, mostly family and close friends. Jake had a girlfriend, Emily, who we invited as well. Jake has a history of getting a little too drunk and causing drama, but we hope with a formal setting and some ground rules, it would be fine. The day started off wonderfully. Everything went smoothly. The ceremony was beautiful, and the reception was warm and fun. But then things started to unravel after the speeches. My maid of honor gave a heartfelt speech, and then it was Jake's turn. This is where things took a turn. Jake got up, and instead of the sweet, funny, and touching speech we were expecting, he launched into what felt like a roast mixed with a personal attack. He started by joking about some embarrassing childhood stories, but then began making snide comments about Tom, saying he was boring, too serious, and that I was settling by marrying him. He said things like, Tom might not be exciting, but hey, at least he doesn't live in his mom's basement, which was not only untrue, but also deeply insulting to Tom and our families. The whole room went quiet. Tom looked stunned and hurt. I was mortified. I tried to get Jake to stop, but he just kept going. He also brought up private family issues, like how I supposedly always sided with Mom during arguments, and how I was too scared to stand up for myself, all in front of everyone. It felt cruel and calculated. When he finally finished, the mood was shattered. Some people laughed awkwardly, but many were visibly uncomfortable. My parents later told me they were shocked and disappointed. Tom was so upset that he didn't even want to stay for the rest of the night. After the wedding, I confronted Jake. He said he was just trying to be funny and that Tom was a boring guy and needed to lighten up. He accused me of being too sensitive and said it was my fault for letting him speak in the first place. He refused to apologize or acknowledge the harm he caused. Since then, I've cut contact with him. My parents think I'm overreacting and that I should forgive him because he's family. Emily even said I'm being too harsh and should just move on. My friends are split. Some say I'm right to be upset. Others think I might be blowing it out of proportion. I feel betrayed. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and he ruined it. I'm also hurt that my family is pressuring me to just let it go and pretend like nothing happened. My relationship with Tom has been strained because of it too. He feels like I didn't stand up for him enough during the wedding. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to forgive my brother for what he did at my wedding? Or should I just move on for the sake of family peace? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for ruining Thanksgiving by exposing my family's secret financial arrangement. I'm a 31-year-old woman, and this happened last Thanksgiving, but it's still causing drama almost a year later. I'm known to my family as the too blunt one, which I'll admit is fair, but I don't believe I said anything wrong here. Growing up, my family was always extremely focused on appearances, not just in terms of looks, but financially and socially. My parents were very middle class, but stretched themselves thin to appear wealthier than they were. Private schools, leased luxury cars, designer brands on layaway, etc. We were always doing fine, even when utilities were being quietly shut off for a few days. I moved out at 18 and funded everything myself. I worked full-time during college, shared a shoebox apartment, and ate way too many canned beans and ramen. Eventually, I got my degree, landed a decent job, and got into a much more stable financial situation. I'm not rich, but I have no debt, good savings, and live within my means. I don't flaunt it, but I also don't pretend to be struggling when I'm not. So, last Thanksgiving, my husband, 32M, and I drove 6 hours to my parents' house. My older brother, 35M, and younger sister, 28F, were there along with their spouses and kids. Everyone was in full social media mode. Matching outfits, multiple candid shots, expensive catered food, the works. Pretty normal. At dinner, my sister started venting about how expensive everything has gotten and how hard it is to make ends meet. Then my brother chimes in, saying the only reason they're getting by is because mom and dad have been helping out. My sister agrees, adding that she wouldn't have been able to stay home with her kids without their financial support. Now, here's where it gets sticky. I was surprised because I've never received any financial help from my parents. Not for school, not for rent, not even for emergencies. Not that I expected it, but it was news to me that they were subsidizing my siblings' lives. So I asked, kind of bluntly, "Wait, how much help are you guys getting?" My brother hesitated, then said my parents have been paying $1,000 a month toward their mortgage for the last 3 years. My sister admitted my parents cover all her car payments and insurance. I looked over at my parents and asked, "You guys are giving them $2,500 a month between the two of them?" They looked really uncomfortable and tried to change the subject, but it was already out there. I said, "I had no idea you guys were helping them like that. I've been on my own since 18. I didn't even know it was an option to ask." My mom responded with, "Well, you never asked. We didn't think you needed it." That kind of set me off. I said, "I didn't ask because I thought you couldn't afford it, not because I didn't need it. I spent years eating ramen while you were funding private schools and new cars for people who already had way more help." My sister snapped at me, saying I was making things awkward. My brother accused me of trying to shame them for accepting help. My dad finally said, "Let's just enjoy the holiday," but the mood was wrecked. Everyone went quiet and awkward until dessert, when people started leaving early. Later that night, my mom pulled me aside and told me I was out of line. She said I embarrassed her and made everyone feel guilty during a holiday. I told her I didn't mean to blow anything up, but I felt blindsided learning about what felt like a years-long secret that I was never part of. Over the next week, both my siblings texted me some version of "you ruined Thanksgiving" and that I owed our parents an apology. I refused. I said I wasn't angry they got help. I was hurt that it was kept a secret and that I was never offered the same support. They said it's because I'm so independent and would just say no anyway. Maybe that's true, but shouldn't I have been given the option? For what it's worth, my husband is fully on my side. He said he always found it weird how I was treated like the strong one, so the others could be coddled. He thinks I was just finally speaking a truth everyone else was trying to ignore. The family dynamic hasn't recovered. I wasn't invited to Easter this year. My parents and I are cordial but distant. My sister still hasn't spoken to me directly. My brother occasionally texts me, but only surface-level stuff. I've gotten mixed responses from friends. Some say I was justified. Others think I should have brought it up privately. But I honestly didn't go into that dinner planning to expose anything. I just asked a question, and it unraveled from there. AITA? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé be involved in my wedding planning because of how he treated my husband? So this is a long one. I, 32F, have been married to my husband, Mark, 34M, for about 4 years now. We met in college, got married 2 years after graduating, and overall have a pretty stable and happy relationship. My younger sister, Anna, 28F, recently got engaged to a guy named Jason, 30M. On paper, everything looks great. Jason has a steady job, a good family background, and Anna is genuinely happy. The problem is the way Jason has treated Mark during the few times they've met, and now it's bleeding into wedding planning drama, which has become a huge source of tension. The backstory: Mark and I have always been pretty close with my sister. Anna and I grew up in the same household, were close as kids, but things got a little rocky in our early 20s when she started dating guys I didn't really approve of. That's normal sibling stuff, I guess. But when she met Jason, things seemed different. He was charming, intelligent, and seemed to genuinely care for her. Mark and I were happy for her. The issue started when Jason met Mark at a casual family get-together. Mark is a quiet, reserved guy, not the life of the party, but very kind and thoughtful. Jason, on the other hand, seemed to take an immediate dislike to him. The first red flag was when Jason made a few snide comments about Mark's job. Mark works in academia, which Jason apparently doesn't respect, and also mocked some of Mark's hobbies, like his passion for old school board games and history podcasts. It felt like typical passive-aggressive behavior, but Mark brushed it off. It got worse when Jason began dropping jokes that were more like digs about Mark's personality and interests. He would loudly question why Anna would waste her time with someone who wasn't ambitious or successful in the traditional sense. These were not private comments, but said in front of other family members, which embarrassed Mark and made everyone uncomfortable. Mark told me he didn't want to cause a scene, so he tried to avoid interacting with Jason. Anna, however, started defending Jason, saying that I and Mark were overreacting and that Jason was just teasing and being playful. This led to some arguments between me and Anna, especially because Anna accused me of trying to tear down her relationship. Fast forward to the wedding planning. Anna asked me to be one of her bridesmaids, which I was happy to do. She also mentioned that Jason wanted help with the planning, which seemed fine initially. However, Jason started pushing ideas that blatantly excluded Mark. For example, he insisted the rehearsal dinner be at a fancy steakhouse that Mark doesn't eat at. Mark is vegetarian, and when Mark suggested alternatives, Jason would dismiss them as boring or not classy enough. He also tried to veto music choices that Mark liked and made snide comments about the guest list, suggesting we uninvite some of Mark's friends because they don't fit the vibe. I tried talking to Anna about how Jason was treating Mark and the disrespect he was showing. Anna initially brushed it off, but eventually admitted that Jason has been kind of difficult and that she sometimes feels stuck in the middle. She said she wanted to keep the peace because Jason gets defensive and claims everyone is against him. 2 weeks ago, Anna told me she wanted Jason to be part of the final wedding planning meetings, saying he was her fiancé and deserved a say. I said I didn't think that was a good idea, given how he has treated Mark. I also said I wouldn't be comfortable having Jason around if he continued his behavior. Anna accused me of being unfair and controlling, and said that if I wanted to keep Mark out of the planning, that was my choice, but she expected me to respect her and Jason's wishes. Yesterday, Jason confronted Mark directly at a family dinner and told him that he was holding Anna back and not good enough for her. Mark left the dinner visibly upset, and I'm furious. I told Anna that Jason's behavior was unacceptable and that if she couldn't see that, then maybe she needed to rethink her relationship. Anna responded by saying she loves Jason and doesn't want me to poison her happiness with Mark's insecurities. So now, Anna is threatening to exclude Mark and me from the wedding entirely unless we accept Jason. I'm not willing to do that because I don't want to let someone who disrespects my husband and my marriage have a say in such an important part of our lives. AITA for refusing to let Jason be involved in the wedding planning because of how he treats Mark? Should I just suck it up for Anna's sake, or am I justified in standing up for my husband?